1830s, John Langton, who was Anne Langton's younger brother, came out to have a farm, create a farm and settle in the Kawartha Lakes on Sturgeon Lake, and he called his farm Blythe. And so about 1834, he writes to his family back in England, to his father, Thomas Langton, and his mother and his aunt, and to his sister Anne, that he is ready to receive them if they want to come out and emigrate. And of course he says, nobody at your time of life, father, should think about coming out to the backwoods of Canada, but they have made the suggestion that they'd like to come and join him. So he says, I'm ready to receive you. So 3 years later, the family departs from Liverpool, and it is Anne and her father and mother and her aunt, her maiden aunt. And they arrive in August of 1837, and they make their way on steam packets and railways and coaches and carriages all the way up. They land in New York, and then they come up the Albany River to Lewiston and so on, and they eventually get to Port Hope, where John Langton is waiting for them. And when they arrive in the country, Anne's letters say, she's amazed at the roughness of everything, the buildings and the gardens and especially the stumps, which she says give everything a rubbishy appearance. But she says they're all very hopeful that they will have a healthy and happy life here. And of course, when they've arrived, John, in saying that he's ready for them, simply means he's got someplace to shelter them, because the main house, which he's trying to build for them, is nowhere near ready, and they have to camp out in his little shanty. So she does say that at one point, my father has a hammock that is strung up every evening for him, and that she and her aunt have a cordoned off little area. John sleeps on a mat on the floor. So it's very, very primitive. There's no stove in the house. Presumably there's no toilet in the house either. So they have to cook all their meals outside under a little shed and so on. And she does describe the stove as being 2 feet 7 inches each way, and it's under a little shed, and everything is cooked on that little stove. So she, after this time at John's house, and the main house finally gets towards being finished, she goes on to talk about how difficult it is to keep the wind out of the house in the wintertime, because of course it's a log house, and the warping and shrinking of the wood and with the change of temperature always creates lots of drafts. And at one point she's talking about she and Aunt Alice are pasting up the wind holes, and of course her mother, who is extremely stiff upper lip, says, oh, it's ridiculous for anyone to come out to Canada and not be able to bear a breath of air. So they're all very, very stoical and strong-willed about the fact that they're going to endure no matter what. And endure is what they do, because unlike many of Anne Langton's contemporaries, like Susanna Moodie, Anna Bromwell Jameson, Catherine Parr Traill, the Langtons, Anne in particular, stayed in the backwoods of Canada for 10 years, nearly 10 years. Most of those other ladies left after 2 or 3. They just couldn't take it. And in fact, in her journals, Anne Langton talks about people, the ladies who are accustomed to the semi-civilized state of the towns are absolutely horrified by the solitude of the backwoods, and they just can't stand it. And so if a gentleman marries, he takes a great risk, because his wife will not suit the backwoods. So Anne Langton was actually 34 when she came out to Canada, and her parents were 70. Her father didn't last. He was ill when he came, so he died, I think, within about a year of being here. But her mother and her aunt lived on for the 10 years that they were in the bush. And I think she probably would have stayed here longer, except that the area was visited by a terrible plague of ague, which is, who knows what it was, a form of malaria maybe, or a terrible flu, and it did in fact caused the death of both Anne's mother and her aunt. So at that point, she decided that it was probably wise for her to leave Blythe and go to Peterborough, where John had married and moved on. And he was now a member of Parliament or whatever. I think he was the accountant for the Peterborough Council. But anyway, she decided to go and live with John after 10 years. But, you know, such fortitude and such dedication to creating a community in this small area of Fenelon Falls, Bobcaygeon, and along Sturgeon Lake.